Have you ever seen that eye in the pyramid symbol and wondered what it's all about? Or heard whispers about a secret society that pulls the strings of the world? Today, we're diving deep into one of history's most fascinating and misunderstood organizations, Freemasonry. We're going to peel back the layers of myth and legend to uncover the real story of how it all began. So, grab your thinking caps, because we're about to embark on a journey through time. To find the roots of Freemasonry, we need to travel back to the Middle Ages, a time of grand cathedrals and castles. The heroes of our story aren't knights or kings, but stonemasons. These weren't just guys chipping away at rocks. They were highly skilled craftsmen, the architects and engineers of their day. They held the secrets to geometry and construction, knowledge that was incredibly valuable and closely guarded. Imagine trying to build a magnificent Gothic cathedral like Notre Dame without modern computers or machinery. These masons had to rely on complex calculations, passed down from master to apprentice, to protect their trade secrets and maintain high standards of quality. These stonemasons formed guilds. Think of them as medieval trade unions. These guilds, or lodges, served several purposes. They regulated who could become a mason, ensuring only the most dedicated and skilled were admitted. They provided social support for their members, looking after them if they got sick or injured, and supporting their families if they passed away. They also had secret signs, handshakes, and passwords. This wasn't for some spooky conspiracy. It was a practical way for a traveling mason to prove his credentials and skill level when arriving in a new town looking for work. A master mason from London could show up at a building site in Paris, give the right signs, and be recognized and accepted by his peers. These early organizations are what we call operative masonry because their members were actual working stonemasons. So, how did we get from a medieval stonemasons guild to the Freemasonry we know today? The transition happened gradually over several centuries, and it's a key part of the story. As the era of massive cathedral building began to wane around the 16th and 17th centuries, the stonemason guilds started to see a decline in membership. There just wasn't as much large-scale stone construction work to go around. To keep their lodges from disappearing, some began to accept members who were not actual stonemasons. These were called accepted or speculative masons. Why would a nobleman, a philosopher, or a merchant want to join a stonemasons guild? Because these lodges had become more than just trade unions. They were places of intellectual and philosophical discussion. The tools of the stonemason, the square, the compass, the level were no longer just for building physical structures. They were reinterpreted as powerful symbols for building a better self. The square became a symbol for morality, the compass for keeping your desires within due bounds, and the level for equality. These gentlemen were drawn to the lodge's traditions of brotherhood, self-improvement, and philosophical inquiry. This shift from operative to speculative masonry is the crucial step in the evolution of modern Freemasonry. The official birth of modern, speculative Freemasonry is often pinpointed to a specific date, June 24th, 1717. On that day, 4 of these speculative lodges in London decided to join forces. They met at the Goose and Gridiron Ale House. A pub formed the Grand Lodge of London and Westminster, which later became the Grand Lodge of England. This was a game. It created a central governing body, standardized rituals, and laid the groundwork for Freemasonry to spread across the globe. Anthony Sayre was elected the first Grand Master, and a new era began. From this point on, Freemasonry was no longer about building with stone, but about building character and fostering a sense of universal brotherhood among men from all walks of life. As the 18th century, the Age of Enlightenment, progressed, Freemasonry's popularity exploded. Its ideals of reason, liberty, equality, and religious tolerance resonated deeply with the intellectual climate of the time. Lodges became vibrant centers for discussion and debate, attracting thinkers, artists, scientists, and political leaders. Men like Voltaire, Mozart, and Goethe were all Freemasons. In America, the influence was just as profound. Many of the founding fathers, including George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and Paul Revere, were members. Franklin, in particular, was a very active and influential Mason, helping to establish lodges in Pennsylvania, The principles of Freemasonry brotherhood and the pursuit of knowledge were deeply intertwined with the revolutionary spirit that led to the founding of the United States. Now, let's address some of the big myths. Is Freemasonry a secret society? Masons themselves prefer the term a society with secrets. Their existence is public. Lodge buildings are often clearly marked, and members are free to identify themselves. The secrets are primarily the traditional modes of recognition, the signs and passwords we talked about earlier, and the specific details of their ritualistic ceremonies. The purpose of these rituals isn't to plot world domination, but to teach moral and philosophical lessons through allegory and symbolism, in a tradition that stretches back centuries. What about religion? Is Freemasonry a religion? The answer is a clear no. It is, however, a spiritual organization. A key requirement for membership in most regular Masonic jurisdictions is a belief in a supreme being. But how a member defines that supreme being is left entirely up to their own conscience. In the lodge, men of different faiths, Christians, Jews, Muslims, and others can meet as equals, or on the level. The focus is not on religious dogma, but on the shared moral values that underpin most faiths, like truth, charity, and integrity. So, where does that leave us? The story of Freemasonry's origins is not one of ancient Egyptian conspiracies or Knights Templar treasure. It's a much more grounded and, in many ways, more interesting story. It is a story of how a practical guild of medieval craftsmen evolved into a global fraternity, dedicated to moral philosophy and self-improvement. It began with operative masons building magnificent stone cathedrals, and it transformed into speculative masons using the tools of that trade as symbols to build better men. The square and compasses are not just symbols on a ring. They represent a continuous journey of personal growth and a commitment to living a virtuous life. From the stonemasons' guilds of the Middle Ages, through the intellectual ferment of the Enlightenment, to the global fraternity it is today, Freemasonry has been a constant presence, adapting and evolving with the times. Its true secret is not a hidden agenda, but a timeless philosophy, taking good men and making them better. Thank you so much for joining me on this historical deep dive. If you found this fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the mysteries of history. And let me know in the comments what other historical topics you'd like to see covered. See you in the next video.